all this paint I've got now, which is a bit too much to let it all drip and dribble together. Paint a big red boat. Just like this, big and naive. Big ears out the side, dog. Now I'm not being a kid so much as I'm being a fast, naive Helen. What's emerging for me is a beard, so let's just amplify this. Hi everyone, it's Helen Norton here on day 27 of my 30-day watercolour challenge. And this video was a little bit late coming out because I went on a sort of a bit of a roundabout getting to it. And yeah, my hard drives are just filling up. I had to go and get another external drive and it goes on. I actually painted today's painting last week and I stopped myself from putting it up because it just felt really illustrative. I just went down this rabbit hole and I have been sort of going there constantly through this challenge. So this is really good for me to share this with you about getting stuck in minutia and ending up becoming an illustrator or, you know, painting cartoons and things like that. And that's kind of where I went to with this one. And I thought, nah, it just felt like something out of a kid's book. While that shouldn't have stopped me from putting it up, because, you know, some of you might actually be interested in that, I just didn't feel right about it. It's a long story and it's not going to get you to the video today if I keep telling it. However, I made day 28 and day 29's painting and I was happy with those, but then I got stuck because this one didn't work out the way I wanted to. So, oh boy, what a rabbit hole. But what I decided to do, instead of just sort of trucking on and doing more and more and more, was to just go and take the opportunity before the challenge ends to show you how I actually busted myself up. And what I mean by that is, you know, how I broke up the gridlock I was in by switching over and painting like in a really loose style, a really naive style. And then by putting that on camera, you could actually see what I was doing to assist me as an artist to get out of that block. What I painted isn't necessarily going to be my, you know, saleable art or anything, but it actually got me out of it and it made me feel a lot better. That's what today's video is about. I paint 4 paintings along those lines and I'll show you a painting alongside each one as I go to see the comparisons. So you get an idea of like the differentiation between, you know, what might be classed as illustration versus cartoon versus very naive art and so on and so on. And, you know, who is to judge? It really does come back to yourself and how you feel about everything. So this is not a judgment session, even though I judged myself. It's actually more about telling you what happened. In that whole process, I started to talk about it and the video just got so long that it became, I guess you could say, a talking head video, which actually had some reasonable advice for artists, but it just didn't belong on this channel. And I've done, you know, I tend to go off on tangents, so I've plucked that out completely. And I've decided to make another channel. I've been thinking about it for a long time, which is specifically for advice to artists, as in, you know, mid-career, late career, early career, which is not focused on showing you how to paint, but more talking about, I guess it's almost like art coaching. It's not about how to paint, you know, painting methodology or anything. It's not about the standard information you'll get on, you know, how to find your artist's voice, because I actually have very different opinions to most of the stuff that's put out there about that. And mine's around the fact that a lot of what people call artist voice is actually just their style or brand. But that's where I went in this rabbit hole of discussion that I think is actually pretty important, the differentiation, because if you are an artist, and a lot of you will possibly be, you know, amateurs, but even so, you might get something out of it. And if you are an artist and you feel like you've locked into your so-called brand, because it's getting all mixed up with you identifying who you are with what you're making, it gets all confusing, because once you start making art and selling art, you tend to respond to what people buy as a cue to make more of it. And eventually you just don't know who you are. You've got no idea. You think, am I what people want, or what am I? And if you change the way you're painting, as I demonstrate today, very drastically, and I'm exaggerating it on purpose, if you change the way you're painting, then your whole identity is shifted like earthquake level in regards to your audience if you've got people that have been buying your work. So it gets really confusing. So that's pretty much what the new channel is about. It's called Helen Norton, an artist forever, because I really thought about that. But that channel will be not really philosophy, it's really just me passing on what I've learned over many, many years. The advice I would have given 5 years ago to a young artist is very different to what I would actually give now. These years down at the farm has caused me to see things very differently. But I'll continue to put practical videos up on this channel. But I just wanted to give you the heads up. Oh, I've gone on and on, but I'll put the link up here in the little thingy-majiggy up the top, and also in down below for the new channel, which there'll only be that one video so far, but I hope to be putting something up there once a week as we go along. So, you know, if you're interested, go and give me a subscribe, because it's brand new. There's no one there. You'll be all alone just with me, my sole audience. As for this one, I'm not quite sure whether I'll actually put the video up. I made another one that I didn't like, which was this one, this little cat on a cottage path. But for both of them, I haven't edited the footage. But I might just make like a really fast, you know, sort of bonus video where I don't talk, I just go through the actual process. Anyway, this is all about personal taste, and you might be cross at me because I didn't actually show you this one, but just let me know in the comments if you care, and then I can do something about it. But as far as I know, I've got this one today, which is 4 crazy paintings, and they're based on me kind of getting a message across about how artists can actually change gears to help them break through blockages, you know, when you get stuck in like little minutia tunnels and things like that, which is what's been happening to me, even within the same medium. And then tomorrow I'll get back to a really nice little landscape, which is actually a really nice painting. And on day 29, I've already got another quite crazy little series of paintings, which are along the lines of a few of the things today. And then I don't know what I'm doing for the last day, but we'll find out. All right, I'm handing you over to Working Helen so you can actually see the video. I'll see you tomorrow. So as planned, this is going to be a very different exercise. What I've got in front of me is a timer, and this is the one I did for day 17, which I was going to present today, but I've changed my mind because this turned out so illustrative that I just didn't want to show you how to do it, right? Even though this didn't start out as a tutorial series, it was literally an accountability series for me, being very selfish. It sort of turned into this other thing. Now I'm towards the end of the series. Today is supposed to be day 27. I actually made some other paintings further on after this one that reminded me of something really important, which made me review what I'm going to show you today. So I'm kind of working backwards a bit here so I can actually get day 27's video up, and I'm sorry for a few days delay. And I did this painting too, and I showed my son James. I said, I don't know, James, it's so kitschy, so, you know, cliche. I don't really know that I want to put that up. It just didn't feel right. I used a really heavy paper. It's a 600 GSM, and the colours looked flat. Everything just didn't feel right. It was a bad day. But I'm going to use these and this one, and someone made a comment, oh, that's illustration or cartoon. And yes, it does get to feeling like that. For the sake of what I'm doing, I'm teaching myself about how I get stuck in eddies, and I'm going to share how I get out of them. Normally I change mediums and then that kicks me out straight away. But because I'm forcing myself to stay not only in watercolour, but on this tiny scale, it's driving me nuts because I'm kind of trapped. So I'm having to fight my way out, which is what I'm going to do today in this video, and show you the kind of thing I would do to break it up. And this smashes all the preconceptions about style and order and everything. So what I'm going to do is shock horror. Maybe a lot of you won't like what I'm going to do. Maybe you won't like the art I create, or the nonsense if you like. I'm going to use what I did the other day when I was doing, I think, day 29, which if you're watching the series in audio you haven't seen yet, and I had only a really short amount of time before my son arrived, and I thought, I want to get this painting done. And I ended up doing 4 but I stuck with a special treat, which I love, and it's like a little heads up for the next series coming up, which is Paint Like a Kid, and I literally painted like a kid. And it's really hard to do that unless you've got very young children around you, like as in young enough not to paint with judgment in their minds about making things look correct. But if you study their work, you learn so much about getting across that divide between your feelings by using haptic form and amazing paintings. Yes, some people might say it's crap, but I don't. I think they're genius because they tell a true story about human emotion before it gets mangled with. Big point. I'll be going on about that a lot, especially in my new channel. So what I'm going to do initially is use a 20-minute slot, because when I make these videos, I'm generally filming for about 2 hours. I don't expect to take 20 minutes. It should only take me 15 at most to do one of these paintings. But I'll put it at 20 just to keep a little bit of pressure on. I've got a list here of paintings I can choose from, and I've just called like Fast Baby, Fast Man in Barrow, you know, Fast Lightkeeper and things like that. And there's no drawings here, and I'm not going to do any drawings. I am going to work completely emotionally on the paper really fast. It will probably turn out 15 minutes or less per painting, and just see how many I can do in, I guess you could say, like suppose an hour. We'll see how I go. So what I'm doing is I'm going back on paintings I did before, and I'm going to do them in this other way, this other approach. This is a very tiny glimpse, just a preview of what I'm talking about, and they are coming up for day 29, but this is what sort of kicked me out of my glut. These look fantastic. I know not everybody will love them, and they look like kind of a stylized gimmick, but I tell you what, it was fun to do. Tomorrow's a really beautiful one too that was done fairly quickly. You'll get a sneak preview of that at the end of this video. But day 29 are the crazy paintings. So day 27, here we go. I'm going to take these reasonably sane kind of illustrative like pictures and go nuts and create something completely different. So my initial one is going to be the Lightkeeper, done in a very expressive way, and it will not just be like this. It will be zooming in on something that stands out to me as important. Timer is on. Right, so let's go. I've got my paints here just to dip into, but you know, this isn't all about colour in these videos, so it's more about the entire process. I'll start with some really dark colours like indigo blue. I just want to get some deep outlines in and some sepia. 20 minutes, but I don't want to use that amount of time. Still, we'll put it up. It's kind of like the archetypal form, face, whatever, that I'm looking for. All I'm going to do is it's going to be quite large, otherwise I'll start getting bitty. There's all sorts of, you know, methods that artists use when they're loosening up, like painting on newspaper and things like that, which is great. But I think it's more the attitude that you adopt when you do it. It's fun, right? Great. When you're reversing your intellect, that's the hard part. And even now, I'm using expected colours here. Like I expect the dark blue in the coat, right? And I expect the pink in the face, and yet I need something more solemn in the face. And this could end up a huge mess, and I have to take that risk. Maybe I need the light of the moon glimmering on his hat and his face. And look at all this paint I've got now, which is a bit too much to let it all drip and dribble together, or I can wait for it to dry, or I can blow it and make it move even more. I kind of like it just sitting like that, but we'll be here forever, so I'm going to have to extract some of the water out of it. Now, without further ado, let's just identify a large eye. And when I did these other pictures, I was sort of adopting a child stance where there was a whole different way of looking at things. Oh, that's pink. Well, look, I've just got a big blob of pink, so we'll just take that off and leave it on there a bit. Maybe some purple into that part of the face. Signa, just a blob of it. A few splashes. Now if I keep going, I'm going to start risking too much forming up of things. So there's a bit of caution required now, as in restraint of the grown-up, which is actually really, really hard. So I'm wanting to put like this shadow in here. In this naivety, if there's just a tad of believability, that's what pushes it over the line into a piece of art that someone might buy. It's actually practically finished. So I'll just dry, and I can utilise the drips a little bit by putting some strategic puddles and then blowing them in a certain way. Now you power that up in oil painting, and that is a significant painting. So do you see what I mean? Like, I know I've got spots here, but that doesn't matter. It's all part of the instant splap. If you had a beard on him, you would have it like this. Stop there, don't go there. If you wanted to, like if you were thinking like a child, they would probably put some kind of attempt at a lighthouse on the cap. There we go, that's all you need. White in the eye, maybe you could have white in the eye, or you could not. But if I put a little dash in there, it's sort of a bit obvious, isn't it? But we'll just see if we can actually back it off. It does drop it back by taking it away from the white, and is too formed. It's too like something. Let's look at the time. 13 minutes. That's good. 15 minutes is enough, I think. That's it. That's the painting. That's one. That is compared to this. Look at that. And that got a bit tight. But look at the energy in this. Quite the difference, isn't it? And really fun. So let's do another one. I don't really think this is going to work out because I think that the topic is too small. Let me show you what I'm doing. How could I repaint this concept, but still on this tiny bit of paper, but in a really sort of naive and loose way? Well, that would be, the cat thing, which we'll come to, but how can I do this? So core essence, path, flowers, cat. One thing I'm not going to do is like do backgrounds and put things on top. I'm going to actually do it like piecemeal, like I was a kid approaching it. I was looking at this tissue box this morning, and I was looking at these cats and dogs, and I thought, well, they're not exactly children's drawings, they're just naive stylizations. So I don't really want to do this. A cat. Orange cat. So if I was a kid, orange cat sitting, I would do an orange cat sitting. Already I think it's too sophisticated, so I have to squash it on the page, what a kid would do. Make it fit, out of proportion, head larger, tail bigger. It's one colour, look what I did. Oops, I want flowers. Roses. Start putting colours into that cat, because you do that, you might be thinking about the stripes. Start to put them in there. Maybe try to put an eye in there, even though it start to smudge. Stupid colours in. Being a kid and all, I would want those eyes in. And what colour are the eyes? Green, yellow, gold. So we'll put big green eyes in. And we'll put them like that. I'm not going to do smarty pants eyes. Deliberately using the big brush only. And yes, they're round, not slitty. We need a nose. And do we need the stripes? Would a kid put stripes in? Probably. Pink nose, because they're half thinking, they don't have the cat in front of them. They're thinking about a nose on a person, like a clown nose. do that. They've just put a clown nose on. I have such fun with myself, don't I? What else can we do here without taking it too far? How do we keep it naive and simple? Well, I suppose we could just say we'll put the claws in, curl them, because they would imagine the curling claws, and they would have some stripes. Always would have whiskers. Fat whiskers too, not perfect whiskers. And wouldn't you, as a kid, put some apples in the tree? Why not? And what if you were a kid and you saw a rose and you tried to draw it and you said, that's not a rose. The way I see a rose is that it's a happy face as well. And then suddenly you got the idea and you wanted all your flowers to be happy. So you come along and you would make them all smile. Someone said, oh look, he's got a white tail in the end. Oops, and then your tail's disappeared. Or you might put some white parts in there. Or pink, they might look pink, so you say, you put the pink part in there. And suddenly you're getting overcomplicated. See how I went too far with it and I started to wreck it? That's right, I'll just put that tail back in. And that's the end of that one. Well, it was probably more like 10 minutes, I think. This is like a true naive painting. And if you think I'm crazy, so what? You see? That's all it is. This is the exercise in undoing yourself. There's a big difference between these two things, but necessary. The instruction I've received is to paint a red boat on the water with someone in it. Now, I imagine I would probably, as a kid, just paint the water first, blue or green or something. So I am just going to do that. I don't care. There you go. That's my grade. Nicely graded sky. My teacher made me stop and dry it. Paint a big red boat. Oh, didn't start the timer again. Oh gosh, I'm hopeless. I'm going to give myself 15 minutes, so I take off 3 minutes. As you can see, it's gone really dark, so we can you would probably want to ramp that up. A figure, change, brain, person in the boat, like a captain in the boat. Naive figures, just like this, big and naive. Big ears out the side. Dog. Now I'm being a little bit sophisticated by putting blue into that for shadow, so that's all right. It's still not going to take long, so I just pop that in, and I think I'm going to dry it. Now I'm not being a kid so much as I'm being a fast, naive Helen. Right. Heat there, heat there. What's emerging for me is a beard, so let's just amplify this. That's it, it's a simple painting, really simple. That's the end, stop. That is just so basic. And you could do also, oh look, see, look, I'm just making messes everywhere. Oh. So I am going to leave that alone now. You know what I'm doing? You can see it, can't you? I'm getting all tight and restricted and careful, and the more I do that, the more mistakes I make. because I'm working within that framework or perimeter. So, so yeah, see, this is stylized, it's tight. Wow, did I ever go there? Right, well, there you go. It's still simple and clean, like a 15-minute painting. Yes, you could put things in like lines in the water. It feels like it needs that. So, all right, let's just... That's enough, that'll do. So this went to illustration. What I did here is what is on this tissue box, right? That's illustration, and so is this. And you saw how I did it. I started to fine everything up. That is very different to that. Oh, wow. It's a great exercise for you to practice one thing and the other. It's just going to be a landscape, which will be quite interesting when you look at the one I've got coming up tomorrow in comparison. A little house. This is super naive. Tree and some sheep in the front. Oh, no, it's too much detail. Oh, gosh. A tree and a house. Kid says, I want a blue house, so they do a blue house, right? So this is me, the kid. And I go, there's trees in the backyard. A red bird that's sitting here, sitting next to a blue bird. That is a landscape. There is no blue sky. There must be some smoke coming out. There we go. I guess you could go in and like colour in blue for the sky, but that's not the idea. The idea is just to go about it in a really simple way and end up with the result. That's the end of that one, and I'm going to put a landscape picture up for you so you can see the difference, where one is like naive and this one's like more naive, more fun. But this painting makes you happy, even though it's done very like a child. Kind of a little bit sophisticated. That's the end. This is what we did today. Naive paintings to some degree. And yet, that was very refreshing and a lot of fun. And there's no reason why you can't do that and have fun. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you put things under a frame. One works absolutely, because again it grabs your eye and pulls you across the room. You'd go, what is that? This should work well. The white. Oh gosh, yeah, that's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, eh? That is absolutely a winner. Oh, gee whiz.